ask one question to Mr. Gilly, Mr. Hessen.
Yes, sir.
Before we do this, agree to the approval of the minutes, does Nathan need to make his change tonight on the soccer thing, or can we do that later?
I think it'd be later.
Okay.
What we're doing now is for the approval of last month, so I think
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Mr. Pike was first, and who did I get second?
Mr. Head.
Mr. Head second. Voice vote.
Okay, just
Roll
one
call.
second. Just one second. Let me get that information ready. I had a little computer issue here.
Okay, I got a first, Mr. Pike, and second from Mr. Head.
All right, let me do this. I'm sorry. The motion was to add naming to the park.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the procedure. I don't think it's hardly time to do that yet, really. I think we'll do that right after the approval of the minutes. If that's all right with everybody. All righty, now then, let's voice vote for the approval of last month's meeting.
Okay, just Jimmy, Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank is not here.
No, not here.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Hessen,
Yes.
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Golden.
Yes.
That's everybody. Unanimous. That was approval of the minutes, correct?
Yes, indeed. All right, before we get to the business at hand, now then, Nathan, I'm not good at this. You go ahead, Nathan.
I would make a motion to add an item to the agenda and discussing park names.
I'll second it.
And Mr. Hessen, you can put that anywhere you would like on the, I'm assuming somewhere under new business. It does not matter.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I've got a first, made the motion. I've got a second, Mr. Pike. Voice vote.
Okay, this is to add naming to the park to the agenda.
Yes.
Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Hessen,
Yes.
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Golden.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Bruce, have you got under old business parts projects update? Have you got anything on that, or do we table that to the night?
I got it, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Very good. Go. Oh, hey, Andy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, bro.
Real quick, couple of updates. We're working on finalizing the contract for the hockey relocation. We should be getting real close to finalizing that with the target start date of late April for building over there. Great combined project if you get a chance to walk through the main quad between our maintenance staff and Full Count Rhythm and the Hendersonville High School Dugout Club, adding a viewing area to the stadium field there. It's beautiful. That's going to be a great spot. Security cameras have been added to the maintenance shop area and to Volunteer Park, just regular security cameras. So that kind of wraps up phase 2 of our security camera project. And hopefully we'll get some funds to do phase 3 in the next budget. And that's all the park project updates. I don't want to steal any of Jeremy's thunder for later on.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Anybody?
Yes, sir. The other update I would give, Mr. Chairman, and I've sent you all emails. You all asked at the last meeting for us to set up a meeting with the Hendersonville Soccer Club. They sent over, they couldn't find a date that they were available to meet between then and March 22nd. They've sent over the dates of April 16th, 23rd, and 27th. The 27th is a BOMA meeting night. 16th and the 23rd are Friday nights. So I'll take direction from you all, whatever you want me to do as far as trying to set up something with them going forward.
Oh, Mr. Long, you got anything to say about that, sir? Dallas?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have anything to say about that since you've been talking back and forth to them?
No, but basically Andy covered it all there. I've been in all those emails that Andy has been, and that's kind of where we stand at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Gilly, I need to ask a question if I could. Why are we allowing these guys to dictate as to when we're going to meet instead of and then just why aren't we just telling them when we're going to meet and be there, and then if that don't work, then we'll dictate situations ourselves.
Well, that was the direction you all gave me, was to try to work with them to set up a date to meet, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't get with them. Couldn't find a date that worked for them. I gave them several options. None of them worked. It's up to you. If you want to call a meeting and they're not there, then I don't know what we'll do. That's kind of up to the Parks Board, really.
Well, I think I'm gonna yield to Mr. Long on that because he's been back and forth with them. But in my opinion, I don't want to be a but in my opinion, we've allowed them to dictate things to us instead of us dictating to them, because it's our park, not theirs. So I think Mr. Long ought to. I don't know. I'm kind of one of them. I'm kind of one of them one chance people, and I think a phone call to whomever it is, and I'm not going to pretend to know who it is, but a phone call to whoever it is, telling them a date that we're going to go do something about this, and get the ball rolling that way. Because this is like my wife used to be. But I'll tell you what, she gave me several different dates, and it wasn't until I set with one that we got stuff done. So. That's just my opinion anyway. I'm met with complete silence, so that's good. That's all right. All right. I tell you what, Mr. White, why don't you go on under new business and get yours out of the way, please?
In reference to my amended motion for soccer or for
Yes,
the park
yes.
naming?
The motion about soccer.
About soccer? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, my amended motion would be asking the park staff to schedule a work study session in person, if possible, with the park staff, Parks Board members, and Hendersonville Soccer Club's executive officers. Those officers consisting of the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and executive division director, on either April 16th or April 23rd. And one of those two dates is what they provided us. We can agree to one of those two dates and that we have a meeting on that agreed date.
I'll second it.
Mr. Pike seconded it. That was Mr. White made the motion, Mr. Pike second. Discussion. Good enough. All right, voice vote.
Okay. Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Hessen,
Yeah.
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Golden.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Nice. All right. All right. Under the next thing, Parks Board Chairman, Vice Chairman, Secretary appointment, Mr. Gillett.
Yes, sir. This is housekeeping. We got to do this every year, as you know. So at this time, I will take nominations and we'll vote for chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. Let's do chairman nominations first, if anybody has one.
Nominate Mr. Hessen.
Second.
I second that.
Mr. Head nominates Mr. Hessen. Does anybody have any other nominations?
Move that they close.
With no other nominations, I think we can appoint Mr. Hessen by acclamation there as the chairman.
I'll be here as long as y'all want me or until I go senile, one of the two.
Congratulations, or I'm sorry, one of the two, Mr. Hessen. Now you can go back and take nominations for vice chairman and secretary.
All right, I'll take nominations for vice president. Mr. Pike, can I do that?
Second.
All right, I got me making a motion, and who made the second?
Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Bennett made the second. Discussion. And me and you, Pike, by the way it is. So
Here we are.
Perfect choices. Perfect choices there.
all right, secretary. I'm in the dark here.
Secretary, just somebody who, in the absence of one of our staff, would be a note taker and provide all the notes and options.
Whose writing can we read?
Oh, so who's not here?
Mr.
Frank.
Mr. Frank.
Mr. Frank.
I tell you what, I'm gonna
Frank,
nominate
Frank.
Mr. Frank. I'm gonna nominate Mr. Franks because I'm gonna
Second.
give that favor back to him. So
It's great.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a first and a second. All right, well, that's the way I've become chairman twice. So that's all. Yes. All right, that's great. All right. Civitan flag football subway sponsorship, Mr. Clare.
I don't believe he's on. Chris, are you handling this? Chris, again, are you handling this for Ryan or no?
Pardon?
I think he's muted.
Is he here?
He sent the message out earlier today. I don't know if he sent it to you guys, saying that Subway didn't give him more details, so he didn't have anything to present.
Okay.
I say we
We'll
pull it.
table that for tonight then. We'll get it on another one, don't worry. All right. James Best Foundation third annual bass fishing tournament. Miss Best. Would she be
Okay,
here?
sorry, I was trying to do it from up here. Yes, sir. So as you were saying, my name is Mindy. I am the CEO and founder of the James Best Foundation. We are an organization based in Nashville that grants wishes to terminally ill adults. So think Make-A-Wish Foundation, but we do it for adults instead of children. We've been granting wishes since August of 13, granted almost 20 wishes so far. And we're trying to do a tournament this year. We are working with professional angler Kevin Meeks and his management, his management company that manages him, Kazi Angler Management. And we'd like to have permission to hold a fishing tournament at Saunders Ferry on the 12th of September. Got that date, approved. I guess that date's available for us. It's going to be a bass tournament out at where the big pavilion is, where there's the 3 boat ramps. So we're going to have that tournament. The tournament will go from like 7 to 3, I believe, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., but then we'll be there early for check-in, and then after that for weigh-in as well. And then we're going to we'd like to have a silent auction during that tournament as well.
Okay. Question?
Do we have, I guess this would be for who would this be? How's that date look? Whoever needs to answer that. Miss White?
It's the day after the Bass Pro Shop fishing tournament. And they are aware of that, but that day does work for us.
Okay.
Do we think we'll have enough fish left over?
Well, hopefully.
Well, if it's a bass tournament, most bass tournaments, they throw the fish back because bass isn't really edible. So all the tournaments that I've held so far or have been watching after weigh-in, first of all, there's only a 5 bass limit, and then they weigh it at the end at weigh-in, and they have to be alive to really be counted. and then after that, they throw them back. So that's the main thing with bass tournaments. And then also too, I contacted the agent who's helping me, and he said that it wouldn't be an issue.
Well, we've already proven we got the dumbest fish in America, so I mean they can be caught over and over and over. It don't make any difference to them.
Well, let me clarify something, Mr. White, Ms. Wise.
Yeah.
The date does work for us, even
Yes.
though we've got the big date before that, right?
Correct.
The day before.
Yep, it does work.
Okay.
For them, not the fish.
Yes. I understand.
Mr. Chairman,
Or
I'd
fish.
go ahead and move to approve.
Second.
I got a first, Mr. Bowler. Who was second? Mr. Perry?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any more discussion? Voice vote?
Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Hessen,
Yeah.
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Golden.
Yes.
That would be unanimous.
Good enough. Well, if the fish are biting, you got it made.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, man. Okay, quarterback vision. Max Strave? Max?
Yeah, I'm in here.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing, sir?
You go ahead and just give us what you want.
Okay. So my father, he's also my partner. He is on this call as well. His name's Robert. He's kind of there at the end. So we are a private quarterback training company. We do kind of small group things and some one-on-ones. And so the past week we've done 2 kind of youth group sessions at TW Hunter, and it's been really successful. And kind of why we wanted to do this was to bring high-level resources to the Hendersonville area. There's a lot of talent up here, but I just don't feel like the kids have a lot of access. Me being a kid from Hendersonville that played at the University of Florida, played at the Division I level for a long time, had a stint in the NFL. I really want to bring that to the kids. So we've had 2 sessions thus far. They've been great. We've been talking with Chris here for a couple weeks now, and kind of the thought was that, through our organization, provide, with the education, the instruction for these sessions. They're about an hour 15 long. Ages ranging from 8 to 14 years old. I think for the city of Hendersonville, for the Hendersonville Titans in general, it's driving a lot more interest to the program, just based on, the kids wanting to come out, the numbers that we hope to get one day. And so that's kind of where we're at with it. We kind of wanted to do a 15-week, we've already done 2 weeks, kind of developmental program. Instead of just a one-day thing, we want to be hands-on with the athletes and see long-term development. So we've done, like I said, 2 so far, and on Thursday nights for about an hour 15 minutes. That's in general a synopsis of kind of what our thought was.
Okay.
And I believe Chris could add more to that if he's on there.
I have a question, Max. This is Mike Pike.
Yes, sir.
Well, it looks like we're charging $20, but you are donating fundraiser back to Civitan Titans. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have Chris Ginn on the call. He's the tackle football director, and he may be able to add a little more to it as far as Civitan's part in this.
Okay.
You're muted, Chris.
Hey guys, I met up with Max and QB Vision probably a month or 2 ago. Then as we kind of talked over the few months and stuff, and me being the director of tackle football, he had the vision of doing the kind of one-on-one lessons, and then for there I was communicating with Civitan, trying to do a partnership. And on top of doing the clinics, we've talked about he was going to give back $5 a kid for every kid that made it. And then once tackle season ramps up, that whenever we have our tackle camps, the guys who are going to come out to just help support the camp with our quarterbacks and receivers, just the kids, even a part of the flag program too. And then also when we do our community conditions, QB Vision was going to step up and help us with that when we start that next month. So it's kind of just trying to, just get some more coaching and stuff for the kids. I love doing what I'm doing, but Max and Bob's got a little bit more credibility than I do when it comes to instructing quarterbacks and receivers.
Thanks, Chris.
Any more questions?
One more question, Mr. Hesson. This is for Andrea. How do the dates work, or Mr. Long, whoever? How do the dates work with what we've got going on?
Yeah, I can answer that. As far as the dates, I think that'll be fine. We'll put it on Thursday nights on the football field. Talked with Chris earlier today, and sounds like they only need about 20 yards or so of the football field. So we'll be able to fit that in there, and then our flag program can continue on the other part of the field for practices those nights. So I don't see that being a huge issue.
Okay.
The only issue I do see is, me being a Seminole and Max being a Gator. I don't know about that, but we can work that out, I guess.
Chomp chomp.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Hesson, that we pass this, and if the motion passes, I want to thank Max and Bob for stepping out. Any coaching help we can get from people like that with our kids, I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
Second.
I got a first, and I got a second with Mr. Bennett. Any more questions? Voice vote, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hesson?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
That would be unanimous.
All right, you got it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Guys.
Go forth and prosper. All right, honor walk, Melissa or Nenzel.
This is Nigel Rasmussen.
Hi there.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
Good. I'm saying hello from Utah or pseudo Las Vegas. We're getting ready to do an honor walk event here tomorrow in Las Vegas. So thank you for having me here.
Okay.
So we are suggesting that an honor walk happen at your first responder memorial. We became aware of the memorial actually online. We had been in touch with Metro PD, with Lieutenant Sears and their drill and ceremony team initially. And then when we found out there was a first responder memorial in Hendersonville, we were hoping that we could do what we call an honor walk event ceremony. That's a 1 hour to up to an hour and a half ceremony. We have a full-scale World Trade Center replica to help commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And there's a truck that carries our entire exhibit that's called Hero One for transportation purposes. But we were hoping we would have the support to be able to hold this honor walk event at the First Responder Memorial on July 30th. So that's what we're here for to request.
Okay. How does that work, Mrs. Wise? Miss Wise?
We've actually spoken with Ninzel, I think it was last week, and we figured out all the logistics, so that should work.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
So we would be there in the morning. Usually we get there an hour and a half to 2 hours beforehand. If there are some people that can help to volunteer, we'd love to meet everybody before we actually start the ceremony. There's a whole program that we outline, and I can, I guess, further work with Andrea, would it be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Questions of her, please?
Just one question for me. You said you've got a truck that you're bringing. That
Yes, there's a truck. It's a 53-foot semi-truck trailer that has a wrap on it that's dedicated to police, fire, and military. And it's a beautiful wrap that's around it. Includes both our logo and the Honor Network, which is a nationwide organization that has a microchipped flag that flew at ground zero. and they've been part of this. We are the Honor 365 is the hosting organization, and then we have the transportation company with the wrap on the truck that transports everything across this nationwide tour. There are 11 locations where it's on full display, but in every city we do an honor walk event, and Tennessee was one of the selected states out of 17 states and 21 cities that we will be at.
It's awesome. Ms. Wise, I know you said the logistics are worked out. We have got worked out where we're going to put this truck, I'm assuming.
Where it could park.
Where it could park.
Yes, just where it could park, not necessarily as part of, it certainly is an opportunity for police, fire, military, the citizens of your city, for the public to it's eye candy for sure. It's a beautiful truck if people wanted to have photos with it. But where the main purpose for us to be there is to hold this honor walk event and to pay tribute to the 9/11 fallen, and also select local heroes within your own community that we have 8 to 12, and there's a list that we request to honor those individuals that fallen police, fire, and military, as well as living veteran, living police and fire, EMS, and 911 dispatchers that are included in this 8 to 12 honorees. And we say 8 to 12 because sometimes cities have specific individuals they've thought of that they'd like to honor in addition to our request. And so that's part of the reason why it's 8 to 12.
Any other questions?
Do I read the application correctly, in that you're not for profit, you are
Correct.
not looking for anything from us, you are providing a service?
That's correct.
We'd be honored to have you here, and I'd move to approve.
Thank you very much.
If I could just because we got a public forum as far as what Hero or Honor 365, what it does, and maybe explain the broader mission. I know you do these honor walks, but what is your broader work that you do?
So our mission is to provide resource and referral to veterans, first responders, and their families. Our vision is a world without suicide. We put funding into mental health services for those that we serve as support, which of course is the veterans and first responders. We have a partnership with a university that is building out a center for excellence so that mental health services can be a free service to them. There's 2-week intensive programs, there's telehealth services and outpatient therapy in person, of course, in that state. But that's our main focus is the proceeds go into support, to promote and support mental health for those that serve this great country.
Awesome.
Very nice. I've got a motion, Mr.
I'll
Bowler.
second it.
Who was second?
Somebody may have already seconded, I don't know, but if they hadn't, I'll second it.
Okay, we're going to call Mr. Bowler the motion and Mr. Pike second. Any more discussion?
Just one thing real quick. I love this. I think it is. If we can work that out, Ms. Wise, to get that truck, I think it would be great. If we can't, that's fine. But I just would let y'all two work on that and see if you can.
If I can add, we've had a brief meeting just last week, but we're also working with the fire department and the police department in this, and so we're still figuring out some of the smaller details and who's all going to be involved in the event. But Chief Bush is involved with helping out and trying to get some people lined up to help them put on the ceremony. So I'm sure we'll be able to get this all worked out with the truck as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and just so the truck is truly something that serves as a memoir to the fallen. But inside of that truck is what transports this World Trade Center replica that was built by a young man out of the Netherlands. He started it when he was 14. He's now 19 years old. He'll be joining us in New York when we get to New York, which will be the permanent location for this full exhibit. So the truck certainly serves as a transportation mode for us. But inside the interior, inside of that truck carries this exhibit across the country. It's not a rolling exhibit. It's an exhibit that actually goes on display within a venue. So for example, in Ohio, Columbus is going to be there at the National Veterans Memorial Museum, and it has some key locations where it'll be on full display. We couldn't do that in Tennessee, unfortunately, but we absolutely wanted to have an honor walk event there.
Any more discussion? Votes for it, but that thing?
Yes, sir. Be glad to. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Frank? I'm sorry, Mr. Frank is not here. Mr. Bennett?
Absolutely yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hessen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Golden?
Yeah.
That's it. Unanimous.
I cannot think of a more worthy thing to have on our agenda than this. Anything that we can do for any of those people, I'm all for. So thank you for doing this.
You're so welcome.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Middle Tennessee Showcase, Lorenzo Walker. He has been biting at the bits. I'm telling you, he's ready to go. I want to hear the best you got, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I would like to request permission to host a fast pitch softball showcase event at Drakes Creek Park, October 29th to 31st of 2021. I have Coach Sarah Dawes, who's an assistant coach at Nazarene Rebecca, who's going to help out and organize some of the camp portion that we're going to host on Friday with athletes coming in, with college coaches actually instructing them, and then also having a coaches clinic that evening with the college coaches talking to the travel coaches about different drills and things of playing the game. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we would host a tournament of 12U through 18U. For each team will play 5 games. It'll be a 5-game showcase event, which we will hopefully have college coaches attending.
All right. Well done. Question?
Mr. Chairman, the
Go ahead, Nathan.
date-wise on this looks like it's going to be at the same time as the trick-or-treat event. How does that, how will those two coexist? Do we see any issues there?
I think our trick or treat is the 28th.
Yeah, the
Oh, you're
trick-or-treat
talking
event,
about in general.
the trick-or-treat event should be Thursday, October 28th.
Okay.
Okay. Does that work then?
Yep.
Good. All right. Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Before we do that, Mr. Chess, I got one question. I know
Yes, sir.
this is for Mr. Long. I know we usually, it looks like this is for profit. Are we donating back to any charitable event with this?
I have not had it tied to any charitable event, but that's something I have looked into and thought about. Ken Crook is going to be working with me with this event also. He's a tournament director down in Tennessee, and I'll talk to him about something that he's had in the past, and maybe going ahead and donating to having a partial donation to some type of charity.
All right. Yeah, work that out with him, and probably, I guess this will go through you, Mr. Long, or Ms. Wise, whichever one.
Yeah, Andrea can help you with that. Typically, this would partner with the Civitan Softball Fast Pitch League, but she can put you in contact with them and figure that piece of it out.
So,
If Mr. Crook is used to that, I mean, that's something that we require pretty much of every tournament. They have to partner with a local group. Now, the financial part is something you work out with them for donations and field rental and so forth. But we've made every other from this board to stay consistent. We have made every tournament come in partner with a local group.
Okay, cool. That's no problem. I'll make sure that happens.
Okay.
I would make that part of the motion. 'Cause that's what we stay consistent with everybody.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Before we motion,
Yes,
will this interfere with the existing tournament that's already on the books?
It shouldn't. I think we.
Because they're using the same fields. I mean, they're asking for the same fields, and according to the calendar, PGF has got all those fields.
PGF canceled last year that same weekend, and they have agreed to give it up this weekend. So they are not
Okay.
having a tournament.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
We're good on dates, right?
Yeah.
Okie doke. All righty. Any more questions?
Motion to approve.
Who was that?
Mr. Head.
Mr. Head made the motion. Second will be
Second.
Mr. Perry. Any more discussion?
I think we would need to make the motion have as a part of it.
Not a bad idea. Do that, Mr. Head.
I'll amend my motion that it's approved based upon getting with one of those civic groups for a donation back to the park.
Very good. And I still have a second by Mr. Perry. Is that correct? Got a second. All right. Any more discussion? Thank you for that, Mr. Gold. Any more discussion? All right. Voice that thing.
Yes, sir. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hessen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Unanimous.
You did good, Lorenzo. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
Yes, sir. You take care, brother.
You too.
All right. Nashville Men's Rugby, UT Rugby, Mr. Silkwood.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
I'm not sure this is, and Andy may have to help me out in Dallas. I'm not sure this is actually on for approval, but I think it's more of an awareness. We had submitted for an event on April 10th and 11th that was approved. We've got a high school team coming in town from Indiana, so the Indianapolis area coming into play. We had hoped to recruit a couple other high school teams to travel in as well. That has been harder than we had imagined. Some of the northern state, well, a lot of states around us aren't quite playing sports yet, as we here in Tennessee and the great state of Tennessee has been able to do. So we have kind of expanded the event a little bit, and the University of Tennessee men's team will be playing University of Memphis that day out on the fields. And then in doing that, we kind of figured out for referee wise that the men's team probably needed to join on site to ensure we would have enough referees to pull the whole event off. So they'll end up being close to 1, 2, 3. There'll be four to five high school games going on during the day. And then also there'll be a couple more on Sunday. And then you'll have the collegiate game there as well. But we are running this as a fundraiser to help us continue to support everything we've done out there, and continuing to look to try to continue to build on what is built out there as we continue to look for other phase 2 and phase 3 of the rugby complex out there, trying to get it funded.
Okay. So I understand this is more informational than anything. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, I would say this is kind of an event within an event. We've already approved the high school tournament, but we're looking moving forward to allowing the University of Tennessee to play out at our park as well. So I would think maybe if you guys are on board with that, approving University of Tennessee using our fields for this event and future events. So we have a CUI listing us as additionally insured from University of Tennessee. So this would just be in addition to what they already had on the books.
So, Brian, can you explain? There's 3 dates there: the 10th, 17th, 24th. So what's happening on which day? Yeah.
So the 10th and 11th is the actual big tournament itself. The 17th and 24th, what I got talking with Dallas and Andy about is in the way that things work within rugby now that some of the colleges are kicking back in when it comes to the hierarchy of referees. kind of the elite college program would be top, then men's would be right after that, and then you get down into high school and middle school. So for us to continue to be able to have some of our high school, middle school, and ensure that we can have a referee, it's easier if we're not easier, but it would allow us to have our high school game, and then right after that, the men's team would play, and that same referee would just continue right on and run the next game. So, there's not rugby is one sport that is difficult to have a dad or anybody just come in and try to be referee. There's a lot that has to do with safety in the game. And it's one thing we're working on within the rugby community is getting more referees. I've actually got one of my sons going through a referee course. I've got two other players going through referee course to provide some help with the referees. Now, granted, they will be more doing the middle school and younger kids. They wouldn't be refereeing their own high school and college games, but still it gets people into the program that we're trying to help alleviate some of the pressure we're having when it comes to referees. So that's really those two additional dates is more about trying to keep the continuity together.
Brian, I would assume that this would also be good for recruiting, having the colleges come in after your kids are playing.
Yeah, we've had at UT multiple kids play and sign there. We've actually had a couple kids go to University of Memphis. We've got one kid this year that has committed and got a scholarship to play at the University of Tennessee. We had two others that were recruited. One of them has decided, I think he's going to go to MTSU. The third one at this time still a little bit undecided where he's going to go. So it is definitely good for that. Without a doubt. And it gets exposure to the fields. I mean, I think when people hear about, we're going to try to put some stuff on Facebook, get some stuff out there about the game, hopefully bring some people out. And again, get some ticket revenue to help us continue to, help support, paying for what's built out there.
Very good.
Mr. Law, Mr. Hess, I want to ask Dallas a real question. Did I understand you right? With the college teams coming, we'll be covered insurance-wise. They'll have their own policy and everything.
That's correct. Yes.
That's correct. Yeah, I've already gotten with them, and they're submitting. They'll have the same insurance as we have, but it will have their name with the city COI on it.
Okay.
So we're all part of the same insurance, but it'll actually have their club's name with your all city, on it.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event application.
Mr. Golden first, second.
I'll second it.
Who was that?
Mr. Pike.
Ms. Pike, second. More discussion? Voice vote? Yeah.
The voice of the parks. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hessen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
And Mr. Golden?
Yes.
That would be unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Silkwood.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Tour Music City Hockey Academy, Mr. Gilliam.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. A couple months ago, one of our parents in our league approached us about starting a new nonprofit to have some additional instruction for the youth in the area for roller hockey. And in subsequent discussions that we had with him, we really kind of decided to roll his proposed program under HIHA's umbrella. And the basic idea is to use, to basically develop a series of camps that would last 4 to 6 weeks. There'd be multiple camps scheduled throughout the year. And this would differ from what HIHA does in that it's not a league with, 10 games and a tournament at the end, but more individual one-on-one type instruction that has, we would hire coaches to come in and instruct those kids. And provide, additional instruction that a lot of our volunteer coaches just really can't give to those guys. As a lot of you know, when you're working with volunteer coaches, some are very familiar with the game, some are less familiar, and some kids really want more instruction than what a volunteer coach can give. And so this is an avenue to provide that to those kids. The idea is basically to start maybe sometime in mid-April. and operate on Sunday afternoons when our league games do not take place. However, sometimes if we have a rainout on Saturday, we'll occasionally reschedule those to Sunday. And the Academy has already agreed, look, HIHA comes first. HIHA has priority. And if HIHA needs to use a Sunday afternoon for some makeup games, then the Academy would have to move to a separate Sunday. And one thing that I'm sure all of you are familiar with is kind of how do rec leagues and more advanced or travel type leagues, how do those interact with each other? And this was another way for us to kind of ensure some consistency and to maintain what HIHA has done here in Hendersonville since 2003, to be able to keep that going without starting this new sort of advanced type of instruction and really pulling people away from what we have here as a rec league. So that's kind of the basic idea. It also simplifies some other things like insurance. As HIHA is already a 501c3 nonprofit, he would not have to go to the IRS and get new nonprofit approval and whatnot. So it really kind of it made more sense than anything else. And I would be happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
There you go. Question.
Yeah, I do. A question about I guess it's the Tour Music City, the organization you're partnering with. Can you tell me more about that? Their setup? Are they a 501(c)(3)? Are they a for-profit? What's their...
No, so they are actually not any legal entity at this point.
Okay.
At all. So the original idea was for them to become a 501c3. And the subsequent discussions that we had with Mark Costanza, who was the gentleman that approached us with this idea, was, look, let's simplify this and not create something new, but rather just pull it into HIHA and make it part of what our league does. But again, it's kind of separating the rec league play from this advanced instruction type thing. So it will be part of HIHA.
Got it. And what you're asking of us, the board, is to approve these events.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Question?
I guess my question, is for Dallas. Do we need something more to vote on this than just an explanation of what this is? Do we need something that's going to tell us about the financial piece of it, or can we vote on it?
I'll actually kind of pass this over to Keith, because Keith's been the one that's been talking with hockey on it.
Yeah, basically, this is going to be part of the Hendersonville Inline Association board. It's becoming underneath theirs. It's very similar to what the soccer does. They have an academy on Saturday morning that they for like 8 through 12-year-olds. It's very similar to that situation. It's very similar to somewhat like the football camp, the passing and quarterback camp. It's just trying to get more training, more advanced training for the kids, as opposed to just a volunteer dad. What it is. And they will be accountable for scheduling through the Hockey Association. The insurance will be through the Hockey Association. All that. It's basically just another arm or another part of the hockey board.
That's exactly right. And all the financials will be maintained within HIHA and will come in the monthly submission that we'll send to the Parks Department.
Okay.
Got it. So again, maybe I'm confused, and I'm sorry for being dense. So if you're asking for special events, wouldn't we normally have a form, or is that just kind of an optional thing? So again, I'm confused on what exactly you're asking for the board.
Well, as I understood it, I didn't need to do a special event, and Andy, Keith, please chime in if I'm incorrect there. But my understanding was that it's not necessarily a special event. I think this was more for an awareness of something that we'd like to do, and just maybe it's an FYI. I'm not sure if it needs a vote or not.
This is similar. This is similar to the Tennessee United Junior Academy. Not necessarily a special event. It's kind of a program within their league that needs your approval. So
I think
that helps.
I think with the proper information at the time you're going to do it, I believe it'll be fine. I don't see a problem with it, but I'm a small guy, so if you'd like to wait till a later date to actually officially
With that,
do it. Yes,
it's
sir.
actually, they're trying to start it in April. So the event is going on. They're recruiting now and so forth. So it actually is an April event. So it would start before the next Parks Board.
Yeah, we're looking to start the first session, so to speak, in mid-April and run for 4 consecutive weeks, barring any rainouts that might take precedence over one of the academy dates.
Okay. In that case, we'd probably need to make it not necessarily special events, but we do need to have a motion to put it on the books anyway.
Oh, I would make a motion that it's part of the Inline Hockey Association as an additional training academy, and it falls under the umbrella of HIA, and that we approve it based on that.
I'll second that.
Well, hold on. I do have a sort of point of inquiry, I guess. Andy, is this? I'm thinking of the proposal we talked about last week with Hendersonville Soccer Club asking us to account for. I know these are very different, but for that training, and would we count that? This is different than.
Yeah, this would be very different from that. They were asking to substitute that for something the Parks Board had approved.
Yeah,
this is supplemental.
Yeah, this would be in addition to it, and it would be supervised by the inline hockey.
Got it. Good. Again, that's where I want to make sure for consistency that I was thinking through it right. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Did you second that, Mr. Golden?
Mr. White did.
Mr.
did.
White. Okay, I've got a
Or
motion,
Mr.
Mr. Head, Mr. White, second. Any more discussion? Voice vote, please.
Sir, Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Frank is not here, just for a heads up. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Hessen,
Yeah.
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Golden,
Yeah.
unanimous.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
You got it made. One question, Mr. Bennett. If I did not hear it, I apologize. But after the pledge, I don't believe I heard the term "play ball." Was that correct, sir?
That is correct. I did not say it, so please forgive me. I'll try to make up next meeting.
That would be fine. I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Play ball.
First Baptist Church Agreement, Mr. Evans.
What's going on? You'll hear about some of our other programs we've got coming up too. But one of the things that we are going to look to add this summer is a sand volleyball league. And we, to be honest, looking at our courts, I really don't think that they're up to standards to really host a league at. And through looking at the different places around town that actually do have sand volleyball courts, First Baptist has 2 really nice courts. That has the upkeep in sand, but also has lights. I've reached out to them just seeing if we could potentially use their space. They are actually going to do their own little kickball league with their church. That we're not running it with refs or anything like that. But they are going to use one of our fields on Sunday afternoons for their league. And so the agreement that is in there is just that we are, when we have sand volleyball over there on Tuesday nights this summer, somebody from our representation, either be a supervisor or myself, will be there on Tuesday nights. They will also have somebody there. And then when they have their games on our field, whatever field that is, they will have somebody from their staff there as well. And so it's really just an agreement. This is a similar written, very similar to how we had an agreement with HCA. You'll have one next month, or I might send it to you guys next week, from Framework Athletics to use their facility for some space. So yeah, I'll field any questions.
Questions?
What would it take to get our courts up to snuff?
Move them.
Nah.
I mean, you're at a point. I mean, I'm not. It's just at a point. We need new sand. They flood every single time. There's not really parking right there is not ideal. I mean, obviously that was a great setup 20 years ago, and I played on those courts. I grew up here. I played on those courts. That was part of the summer, but they are at a point where it's definitely putting a Band-Aid on something that needs surgery. And our main staff does a great job to try to keep those out, but we can't do it. We can't deal with flooding. Like that's something that we cannot control. And so really to get them to a point where it looks like we've done the research. I've looked at what other cities have done, other adult leagues, and a lot of them are building a smaller, almost like their own sand volleyball complex. And that's not in the pages right now. That's not in the books. It's something that we're exploring. So just looking at what other options there are here in town.
Come on, Paul.
Sorry, my dog's barking.
Can you shut the dog up, Punch?
Yeah, dog and a baby. Yeah, dog and a baby.
Mr. Kelly, do we need a motion to approve this, or is this an in-house?
Yes, it needs to be approved, sir.
You got it, my friend. Okay, any more discussion first?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Mr. Bennett, so makes a motion. Mr. Perry, second. Any more discussion? Voice vote?
Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hessen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Nice. All right. New recreational league, Mr. Evans.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of that, that is one of the new things we wanted to offer is sand volleyball. On top of that, one of the things that we've done as a department is try to look at some alternative programming, some things that are not necessarily team sports or what would be your traditional team sports. So looking at more of alternative programs. And the two things that I really landed on was not only e-gaming, which is I'm going to talk about is Rocket League. It's a game. It is right now e-leagues. So, and we're not going to do Call of Duty, but just to give you an idea about how many people, there are 31 million adult users on Xbox and PlayStation every night, every day. And one of the games that we're looking to do, Rocket League, is actually a sport game. It's teams of 2-on-2. You drive cars around and you try to score. It's like soccer, but with cars. And the reason why I'm looking to add this, it would be pretty easy to run from a maintenance standpoint because we would set it up that people would talk to each other to figure out when they can play against each other. They can do it from their own home, so they don't actually have to leave their house. And it is a form of recreation for people. So I think even though I know we want to get people outside, I'm not trying to do that, but this is the reality of this is something that a lot of people are doing and a lot of adults are doing. And the reason why I'm not looking to add youth quite yet is mainly because we can't handle what is said or done online. If we have it from an adult standpoint, we can make it an 18 and up league. And then on top of that, the second one that's also in your parks in the packet is Cornhole. Cornhole would meet a different demographic, not only of people, but maybe people that aren't feel comfortable playing team sports or maybe aren't. Maybe they're not physically able to. Cornhole is an ability for a lot of people to play that we might have missed in our normal population. We've actually discussed with Bluegrass Grill. We talked to them on Friday. They're going to host us on Tuesday nights. It's going to be teams will sign up. We'll do a 5-week league with the 6-week being a tournament. Teams will show up. It'll be teams of 2. They'll play a couple of games every Tuesday night. Everything will be on site over there, and then we'll do a tournament. And my goal with this is a trial run. Both these trial runs. As Hendersonville starts to develop and expand, we're going to start getting a lot of new apartment complexes. And with a lot of the new apartment complexes, even the ones that they've just mentioned in the news recently, a lot of them are going to try to really build community. And so my goal is to actually host a cornhole league nightly at different apartment complexes around the city of Hendersonville. Not only would it meet new people that moved here that don't know anybody, but I also think it would reach a population that we don't normally reach, so 25 to 45. I think that will help bring not only families as they start getting married and maybe start having kids, but I also think that's a way for us to meet people that could be refs and help out with our adult leagues. So that is one of my goals with that.
Coming from somebody that actually watched the National Cornhole Championship, I think that's a pretty good idea. So,
all right.
Question.
Wade, have you thought about e-gaming tournaments that Hendersonville could actually host a tournament and would be able to bring in that kind of nice revenue? I mean, it'd be pretty easy to do. I have no idea how, but but that would be something pretty cool to actually say.
When I was at Vanderbilt, we did actually explore that. And when we got to a point where we were in the final stage of planning it, it was going to cost about $60,000 per day just to have the equipment on site. So while I agree, I mean, hosting a tournament we could totally do. The good thing is, if people, especially computer players, which are really, I mean, they're very particular, you're asking them to essentially take all their stuff down, bring it with them, set it up, and hope. So essentially what I agree, there's some sports that people can just show up with a controller and play. Madden, NBA, those games don't really require a lot of setup. You just bring your controller, sign in, pick a team and play. But I do also know that from a couple of times that we've tried it, we did the Madden League last year during quarantine, just because to be honest with you, I was like, I got to do something. So I came up with the Madden League, and we had eight teams, or 8 different adult men that played in the league. And we had 0 forfeits, and everybody made their games. And GameStop actually gave us a copy of the new Madden game for the winner. So I agree. Hosting the tournaments is really, really the problem with hosting it on a site is having the internet bandwidth and having all the equipment. I think people would do it. Don't get me wrong. I just think we could do it also where we're sitting too.
They get real serious about it. I know that.
It is growing more than you think. I mean, Twitch is a TV streaming thing it's actually on the internet. But at any given time, you got 60,000+ people watching people play Call of Duty or Rocket League.
There you go. All righty. Do we need a motion here, you think? Or I think you're all right? Or motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Who was that? Mr. Golden?
Tom, yes.
Second?
Make a motion to approve these 2 new leagues.
Second?
Second. Let's play some Rocket League.
All right, I'm down. Let's go.
I'm ready.
I got the Jurassic Park Jeep. I drive around.
You have to buy a special bag. No, forget it. Never mind. Any more questions? All righty. Voice vote.
All right. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hessen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Unanimous.
And let me just say, kudos, Wade, for thinking, and I'm sure there's other people in the office that are kind of thinking that way too. Just thinking about outside of, trying to appeal to a whole range of different kinds of folks, and that. So I love that. I love that sort of thinking, and I think that's to be commended.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I think that apartment thing is a great idea. I really do. So, all righty. Thank you, sir. Under your information, I know you see the special events list there. I need to ask Mr. Gilly if during these meetings that they're taped, do they like delete cuss words and stuff?
It's all public record, sir.
I'm getting real sick of this discipline thing. After my little tirade the last time we had a discussion on this, I went home and I've done a lot of coaching. I've coached baseball and basketball and done a lot of coaching. And I went home and I kind of put myself in those people's places. And I understand. I was one of the few that I just didn't really get really upset, but I had coaches that did. And I wish there was some way that we could give like in soccer, give somebody a card through the umpire's discretion. Give somebody a card and make sure that they know what them cards are for. That way we wouldn't have any problem with doing this discipline thing. I can tell you there wouldn't be anything. That's just the way it would be. But I'm just getting tired of this this discipline thing. So, but it's been going on forever. So, all right, that's my 2 cents worth. That's our information. Unless anybody has any questions about either one of them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You still add Mr. White's information or motion to new business? We still need to put that under.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot. I couldn't read my own writing. Yes, sir, Mr. White. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that in watching the Board of Mayor and Alderman meetings online, I appreciate those being posted. I've learned a lot. And at one of the recent meetings, something came up that got me to thinking about an honor for somebody. And I'm just going to make the motion, throw it out there for discussion, and we can talk about it as a board. But my motion would be to ask our liaison, Mr. Brown, to take to the general committee and hopefully on to the full board of mayor and aldermen a proposal to rename Drakes Creek Park to the David J. Lamar Athletic Complex at Drakes Creek. And the end of that, I'm not sure if to the at Drakes Creek Park, I don't know. I've gone back and forth several things on that, but I think Dave, we all know Dave, and Dave's put a lifetime of work into this park to get it where it is. And it was brought up at one of the BOMA meetings to maybe possibly name a park after him. And I think the Drakes Creek Park is where he's put his heart and soul into it. And I think that's an honor fitting somebody that's given the time and effort he has to this city.
I've been biding my time to welcome Mr. Brown to our board here. Good friend of mine. I sure appreciate you being here. You want to chime in on that, Mr. Brown?
Well, my personal feelings or whether I take it to general committee or both. I'll gladly take it to the general committee. If you all vote on it and tell me to do that tonight, it would be a pleasure to do that. And I think that would be a well-deserved naming of a sports complex.
I think it would be too, Mr. Brown. And at the risk of having the debacle we had naming Arrowhead Park out there, I don't see any reason why we can't do this, really. So if I feel like if the board votes, whichever way they decide, if they vote to do that, I think we'll be in the clear. I think I don't know any reason why we wouldn't be.
Can I chime in on this for a minute?
Surely, go ahead.
I want to go ahead and second Nathan's motion, but I want to tell y'all, I want to share a story with y'all, and I hope this doesn't embarrass Dave, but I shared a very emotional moment with him the last time the big flood came through the park, and we sat on the bridge. He was riding a bike, and I pulled my car over the bridge, and we sat there, and we both got emotional. I've been in the park a long time. He's been a very important piece of growing that park and getting it where it is, today. So a lot of people don't know what it really means to it. Some people do know, but there's a lot of people out there that don't know what it really means to him. And I think it's great that you did it, Nathan, and I will gladly second that motion.
I've got a motion and a second. Discussion. I want to add to what Mr. Pike said. Back in the 80s, when our youth baseball league was based in Gallatin at the YMCA up there. Me and a couple other fellows decided that we didn't want to take it all the way up there, so we came to Dave. And from the moment I met him until this day, he has been more help to me. He's got more answers. So I'm all in. I'm all in for this. That's my discussion anyway. Anybody else?
Yeah, so many times you honor your naming something after somebody. It's in memoriam, and there's some, there's some good reasons for that. But I tell you, to honor him while he's here, to appreciate it, he'll be. He has so much humility. I couldn't think of a better thing to do, and I very much support.
He might be humble, but he's gonna get the big head out of this. I can tell you. That's all there is to it. All right, I've got a first and a second. Any more discussion?
Again, so I understand the motion. The motion is for Alderman Brown to take the matter up to Central Committee. Can you just clarify for that for me, Nathan? If you don't mind?
We're recommending.
I'm recommending they take it because we really can't name anything. That has to go before the board. So my recommendation is to take that name to the General Committee, that Mr. Brown is a part of. And then from that General Committee, hopefully it gets out to the full board. And at that point, hopefully the full board will proceed on with our request.
What did you want to name it again? Say that. Or is that open to
what I had in my mind, as I was saying, it was the David J. Lamar Athletic Complex at Drakes Creek.
Very nice. And Mr. Brown, are you willing to do that, sir?
Absolutely. What I would ask Nathan to do is to get with Mr. Gilly and wordsmith that as close as you can get it, so we can get that to Mr. Bradley, so it can get wordsmithed in the form of I think it's probably a resolution, not an ordinance, since it doesn't involve a lot of money. But and then we'll have it on General Committee next month if you'd like it there.
Okay. I can get with Mr. Gilly tomorrow at his convenience anytime this week.
So thank you. Be glad to.
All right, boys, vote.
Yes, sir. Mr. Head?
Definitely a yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Absolutely.
Mr. Pike?
Absolutely a yes.
Mr. Hessen?
I'm going to abstain. No, yes.
Mr. Bowler?
2 thumbs up. Yes.
Mr. Perry?
100% yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Couldn't think of a better way to do this, I'll tell you. All right. Under staff reports, Recreation Coordinator, Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Hessen. We finished up our Raptors winter game days. That was a hit with both the participants as well as the parents. They keep asking me if I'm going to offer this same program again next year. I don't know how we'd be able to do basketball, Raptors basketball in this program, but we could definitely look at what we could do with that. We had about 26 participants. We checked temps, made sure they had their mask on arrival. We kept them all in the same groups as they rotated. So if anyone had to be contact traced, it would be just that small group that had to go and be left out of for the next week or so. Rotations were divided between physical games, dance station, bingo, and crafts. One of my favorites was that we introduced playing human tic-tac-toe. And I was very impressed as to how quickly they caught on to that. You can see some of the pictures, I think, in the newsletter that's coming out tomorrow. Ended with a pizza party, and then a big thank you goes out to Mr. Mann at Witten for allowing us to use his building for this program. We have Raptors baseball registration going on. The online registration ended Wednesday, March 17th. We're continuing to take registrations in the office through the end of March. Season play will be on Friday evenings and Saturday mornings, and we'll start on Friday, April the 9th and run through May 15th. Kickball will begin the following week. Registration for kickball will begin April 12th and run through May 7th. If they are registered for baseball and want to play kickball, they do not have to register again. They can just move over to that sport. Our next event coming up is the extra special Easter egg hunt. This is for our special needs population. It will be March 30th on a Tuesday afternoon at Mary's Magical Playground. We have 3 sessions, a 3:30, a 4:30, and a 5:30 time frame. I want to make sure everybody understands that you have to have a special disability to participate. There was some confusion at the beginning about anyone could participate, but all 3 sessions are for special needs population only. We have reserved the first session for those who have more specific sensory needs and or mobility issues. They have to be registered to participate, and then they will have to check in before each session begins. They need to bring their own basket to collect their eggs. And basically the first 2 sessions are full, but we have slots still open in the 3rd session. As far as the Kids Club Special Needs Summer Program, we're our options to have the program this summer. Right now, we're waiting to confirm a use of location, and we'll move from there. The Sumner County has rolled out a summer school program, and we at this time do not know how many schools are going to be using their own building for summer school sessions. So once we can get some information from that, we'll move on and make a decision about our program. There's, as far as the special needs baseball, I've had questions asked about, do they need special equipment? They do not need special equipment to participate. And we have about 30 already registered. Any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Hamlin, I have one question. I sent you an email earlier today. Did you happen to see that?
I did not.
There's are you familiar with the Pier Place?
I am somewhat, yes.
And I was at 393 Cafe this weekend, and they wanted me to pass along to you and to get the word out about a fundraiser that 393 is doing this Wednesday night for Pier Place. It's a spaghetti dinner. It's free, and they're asking for donations.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get that word out to, as Mr. Hessen would say, and I've said that the 3 or 4 people watching may want to go by and get some spaghetti or something.
Well, these 3 or 4 people I've already donated, so I would challenge everybody to do that. If you've never been involved with the special needs people, it is more than a blessing. And I've got and Miss Hamlin knows about this. I've got a letter that I've got framed at home where one of the girls wrote a letter that. If it didn't touch your heart, nothing would. So, yeah, I challenge you to do what you can. Thank you, Ms. Hamlin. Recreation Coordinator, Ms. Evans.
Yeah, so outside the new stuff, which is great, we finished up basketball prior to the last time we met tonight. So really glad we had all those teams. We are going to do summer basketball, but registration won't go live until in April. Registration just went live through April 12th. So we're about to finish up registrations for our Babe Ruth League and our adult softball leagues. And we have 3 teams in our men's league. So we just need 1 more team and we can have a league in softball. So, but I did get an email tonight from a captain saying that he has a team. So I think we're going to have 4. So that'll be good. We're going to have a men's league Monday nights. Really outside of that, I've been doing all the kind of the random behind the scenes research. So I'm excited to get this new stuff going. One of the things that we're really excited about, Andy might talk about it too. We have a version of essentially T-ball baseball we're offering this summer called Quick Ball. We were going to do it last year, but it just obviously that didn't happen. But we're really excited about that. It's a new developmental league to really help young kids 4 to 6 years old learn the basic skills of baseball as they transition straight into coach pitch. So we already have 20 signed up for that. So that's going to be a good league.
Very nice. Question? All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Special Events Program Supervisor, Ms. Wise, looks like she is ready to jump on something, I can tell you.
I am. My computer's about dead, so I have to stand while it's charging. So now that spring is upon us and the weather's getting nicer, we've had a lot of events not have to cancel, thankfully. So the beginning of this month, we had the Friendship Christian Middle School play some games in our park, and they ended up having about 8 teams participate. And then last Sunday, we had that offense defense All-American Football Bowl that was approved last month. And they had around 6 teams attend, or about 120 people there. And then this past week was the HHS Commando Classic. They had 18 teams at the most. And then coming up, we've got the NPA football camp, which was approved, I think, maybe a month or 2 ago, on April 3rd. And then as you just heard, rugby will be having a tournament on April 10th. And then another new tournament we have this year is that PGF Beverly Bandits tournament. They're coming down from Michigan the weekend of April 9th through 11th. And right now they currently have 87 teams registered. So both veterans and Drakes Creek Park will be reserved for that tournament. So it should be a pretty big turnout for that. And then we've got our first fishing tournament on April 24th, the Tennessee Bass Federation. And then GMB will be having its first tournament of the year, the weekend of April 24th through 25th. And Tennessee United will also be having their spring tournament that same weekend. And then to wrap things up, in April, tennis is going to start having its meets all throughout the month of April. So there's a lot going on this month, or next month. I'm sorry, this is March still. Next month.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Questions? Well, you did well. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's see, Maintenance Supervisor, Mr. Gannat.
Good evening, everyone. I'll hit a few hot spots here. As you can tell, I think from this meeting, there's a lot going on. It seems like that's all the time. We've started the 2021 mowing season. Spring fertilizer and rain has got the ryegrass rocking. I can tell you, we had one field that we had to cut 3 times today. So if that puts it in perspective, I don't know what does. We finished all of our indoor painting projects, and the guys started some outdoor projects of painting last week. We've got some doors and concession doors and different items like that that we wanted to paint that we couldn't do through the winter months. So the weather's getting better. So we're going to try to knock a few of those out on the days that we don't have a lot going on in the park and we don't have to worry about wet paint signs. We started work on our second large dog park over the last couple of weeks. We've got a water line ran in there, and we'll get some fencing done next week. So maybe hopefully in the next 30 days or less, we will have that secondary large dog park open. I know that'll be a relief for the folks with the big dogs, because we've got our primary large dog park closed right now. Just got some seed and straw down, trying to get some new grass growing. So this is really going to help that problem we've had there at the dog park, having this secondary area, and it'll allow us to give some relief to each one and flip back and forth and do some overseeding, and hopefully have a lot of happy dog owners when they're not taking home their muddy dogs every day. One thing I'd like to ask is if you guys could keep a few of our employees and their families in your prayers. Just seems like we got a lot of things going on with some guys right now. I got 3 different fellas that are having some issues, health things and things like that. So keep those guys in your prayers, and I'm going to keep it short and thank everybody for their time. I'll stick on here for a minute if anybody's got any questions.
I don't have a question. I just want to have a comment, Mr. Gannat. I happened to drive through the park Sunday, beautiful day. Park looked great, and that place was rocking. I don't think there was an open space down there that you could even get on. So,
yes, sir. The guys running trash restrooms this morning, they could tell how busy it was yesterday. I can tell you that.
Question?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gannat. Assistant Director, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Both Tennessee United and the Lacrosse League are their season's been ongoing for about 3 weeks now. Rec soccer, they'll start their games this Saturday. We have about 109, 110 teams with rec soccer. So that's an increase from this past fall. Flag football, their season also begins this Saturday, and we have our biggest flag league to date. We have about 64 teams and roughly around 600 players, and we only have one football field, so that's quite the challenge. And but we're working through that and making that happen. So that's exciting to see that league continue to grow. Rugby, this weekend will be the first rugby game of the season for the spring. They continue to gain interest in our park and our new fields. I just got an email from Mr. Silkwood today about a new tournament coming from out of state. So I'm sure we'll be coming back to the Parks Board here in the next month or two with that one. And then also big thank you to the Rotary Club and to the Rugby Club. This past weekend, they planted 50 trees out at the park. So that's going to be a nice addition. They're baby trees, so it's going to be a few years before we see them, but that'll be a great addition. And then next step, as Mr. Silkwood mentioned earlier, is building the concession stand restroom building out there. And then trail post update. You all voted on the trail posts to be added to the park. We will begin working on installing those in the next week or two. So if you're in the Drakes Creek over to Veterans Park trails, be looking for those. They should be a nice addition. And again, thank you to the Hinsville Running Club for their help in making that project happen. And then lastly, we've got the parks master plan, 10-year master plan ongoing currently. We have the survey out for about a month. That'll end around April 17th. So anyone watching, please go on and fill out the survey. That's posted on our parks main page. It's also posted on the parks Facebook page. We'll be passing out flyers in the park. There's flyers posted at all the concession stands. That's going to be a huge deal for us and how we continue to make our parks better and continue to grow over here in the next 10 years. So any input we can get out of everyone in the community will be a huge help. Andy has challenged the city with 1,000 survey results. Typical survey is about 300 to 400. So I think he's offered to give us a pizza party if we can get to 1,000. So we need your help. But that's all I got tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Questions? Thank you, Mr. Long. Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finished up our basketball the end of February. Didn't think we would make it all the way through the year, but we did with the COVID. Then we played every game for about 2 months from January and February and got finished up the end of February with the tournament. So I really like to thank Civitan and Chris Ginn and excuse me, his wife Natalie put a lot of time and effort into it, and we did make it through the year, which was a great accomplishment. Silvertown Baseball, the first games are tonight for the local league and the middle school league. So we're down there. I'm sure Mr. White will be down there the rest of the week umpiring. Just missed him tonight. So that is all full force going. Fast pitch has started practicing. They've had their draft. They will start games approximately second week of April. The hockey, same thing. They're ongoing practices. Senior men has had their draft, and they will start games tentatively middle of April, and the one league 1st of May. So, Bubba, there's still time if you want to sign up and play. I think they were still looking for you, Bubba. The middle school fast pitch league, they start back up this week. They took off last week for spring break. They've got about a week left of regular season and then their tournament for the middle school league. Other thing on the schedule, which doesn't start for a couple more months, is the rhythm baseball. That's through the full count stuff. We're also going to, I need to talk to the adult baseball guys again and give them some dates. They want to come back and use the field. Had a real good time last year. So I believe they will be back with any and all dates we will give them for Field 3. Going to be a busy weekend, very busy weekend this weekend. And I think if anybody wants a part-time job as a concession stand worker, Mr. Hay will be glad to have you.
Yeah.
That's
No
it, Mr.
doubt.
Hessen.
Questions, Mr. Bruce? You'll be glad to know that I have officially retired from kickball, but I am now going to direct all of my efforts and training to cornhole. So I hope to go pro at some point this year. So there you go. Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing much further. Everybody's covered all the events and the leagues, and just want to tell up my staff, our staff, amazing job they've done, maintenance and the office, getting things ready for this spring. We have more people signed up and more things going on than ever, and they have done a tremendous job. And what you all did tonight, voting for to send the name of Drakes Creek Park to the general committee is something pretty special. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly.
If I can add one thing, just a reminder, Monday night is the combined Parks Board BOMA meeting for the Parks Master Plan. So you all should have gotten an email link for that if you're going to attend via Zoom. So just a reminder to be there for that with BOMA.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
One other item, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On the motion earlier about the April 16th or 23rd, just so everybody's here at this meeting right now, is everybody okay with 6 o'clock before we start setting times?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
And to tag on what Keith said, there was a letter with the dates that was mentioned from HSC to Andy that Andy shared with us that basically was asking for an agenda. I don't want us going with a date with them and then them saying no, they don't want to meet because we haven't given them an opportunity to prepare for what we want to ask. So do we need to amend Nathan's notion to come up with an agenda, or do we need to send stuff to Keith or Andy or Dallas to put an agenda together so they can know what questions are going to be asked? Or what would your guidance be as anybody on the board?
Mr. Head, I will send an email to the Parks Board letting you all know to send me any topics, questions by a certain deadline. We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good faith measure. Make the meeting more productive. I think it's a good thing for us all to know what's going on.
There you go. Okay, on the round table, go ahead.
I had sent an email out. I don't know if we want to tonight after this is over, if we want to hang around the board members and just discuss for a few minutes, or if we want to everybody just submit some things individually. That was a purpose of my email earlier, to say do we need to just brainstorm some things? Would that help, Dallas? Would that help
individually,
or would we
individual would be best?
Individually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already given my opinion, so I think pretty much everybody knows that. All right, on the round table, Mr. Pike.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Brown for being here tonight. I'm glad you're part of this our liaison on the board, and just to thank everybody for what they do, from the staff to the Parks Board to the the maintenance staff, the time we give and what we do. I mean, it's a special thing because it's about the kids, guys. It's what it's about.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Mr. Perry?
I'm good, thanks. Welcome, Steve.
Mr. White?
I'm good.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes, sir. Got two things real quickly. First of all, Chairman Hessen, well stated position about scheduling that you talked about early in the meeting. Secondly, the high school wrestling championships just concluded, and Hendersonville is well represented. Hendersonville High School had a state qualifier, which is really saying something this year. Was much more difficult to qualify. They're on the uptick over there. They're doing some good stuff. Beach had 3 finalists. Trey Bates won for the 3rd time in 4 years. Mason Smith repeated as champion. He made it 2 in a row, and that guy looks like He-Man, right? And then they also had another finalist, Donovan Rich, finished second. So I wanted to say congratulations to those guys.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Mr. Golden?
No, nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Head.
Welcome, Mr. Brown, and appreciate everything everybody does on board, and have a great day.
Mr. Bennett?
Just got 2 things. I was in the park yesterday, and man, what a difference a year makes. I'm very grateful that we are able to do what we can do here at the Parks Department. And welcome Alderman Brown. I know you're not used to this. You're a rookie in all this. We'll take good care of you, and just glad to have you on the Parks Board liaison. That's it. Play ball.
Brown?
Thanks for all the welcomes. Mr. Gilly had told me back when we were trying to figure out who was going to be liaison to the Parks Board and some other boards, that if I would sign up for Parks Board, that you all would each take a month and take me out to dinner. So I expect that to be done. I don't, Mr. Gilly can facilitate that. I don't know how you want to do it, but I'm kind of like Mr. Perry. I'll eat about whatever's put in front of me. So
Amen.
I'm glad to be your liaison and glad to take your motion for general committee, Nathan. Thank you all. And Michigan is not doing quite as well as I would like to see them do. And Mr. Bennett knows that because he's been watching the game.
As far as that dinner goes, are you objective to square buns or not? Well, I can get a dozen crystals for you.
A dozen crystals, and you probably don't want to hang out with me very long after that, Ken.
Oh, boy. Good to have you, Mr. Brown. Good to have you.
Good to be here.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Mr.
Second.
Second. Mr. Bowler. Voice vote.
Sorry, who made the motion?
I don't know.
Mr. Perry.
Who was second?
Mr. Perry and Mr. Bowler.
Well,
sorry.
Okay. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Hessen?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Nice.
Yes.
Nice, Jeremiah.
Unanimous.
Good night, everybody.
See y'all.
Hey,
See you, gang.